Welcome back to the Vale of Rheidol. It's arrived. The brand new book, Narrow Gauge Enigma, the story and engines of the late Peter Rampton. The book has arrived. All of you who have already pre-ordered it, it is on the way. Bear with. Anyone who wants to buy their own copy now, you can pop in here to the shop or head to our website to grab a copy. I was fortunate the other day to go for a trip on the train with the author of the book, Stephen Phillips, to learn more about how he wrote the book, his memories of Peter Rampton, and surveying and gathering information on all of these fascinating engines. So Steve, how did the idea of a book about Collection X originate and come about?
Well, back in 2015, we decided to write a detailed book about the Vale of Rheidol with drawings of all the engines and coaches. And in order to start work on that, I had to visit Surrey to meet Peter.
Yeah.
And that was back in January 2015. Very bitterly cold morning. And I'd never met Peter before, but I'd heard about his mythical status in the world of narrow gauge. So I was in awe of him in a way before I even met him. And when he eventually walked in, he was nothing like how I had imagined. You wouldn't guess looking at him that he was a wealthy train collector.
Well, yeah.
And we had a brief chat, and he suggested that I go and have a look at his collection.
Right, yeah.
Which I was thrilled about because I'd heard about this mysterious Collection X.
Yeah.
Never in my wildest dreams did I think I'd ever get to see it. And as I walked out the door, Peter said, there's just one proviso, that you keep to yourself what you're about to see.
Right, yeah.
Or
yeah.
words to that effect.
Sure.
Which I respected. And then when he died in 2019, by that time the Vale of Rheidol in Detail book had been published. And Claire, the managing director of the railway, suggested that it would be a good idea to do a similar book about Peter's collection.
Sure.
Originally it was going to be a series of measured drawings of the engines in his collection, which entailed visiting Surrey and measuring each of the locomotives and producing a detailed dimension drawing.
Yeah.
And in the process of doing that, we gradually began to find out more and more about Peter. And engines were just one small part of his life. He had a collection of AC sports cars, which he kept in a barn near his house.
So it was a mixture of engines, carriages and cars that were all stored at the farm. So, despite the fact that Peter obviously passed away in 2019, he never got to see this book. What do you think? Do you think he'd be happy now to see what's going on at the railway and the book and everything else?
I think he'd be happy to see what's going on with the railway. I think he would be horrified that there is now a book about him.
But anyone can now see what's in the collection.
Yeah.
So one good thing and one bad thing, but there we are.
Yeah.
What we are certainly doing though is preserving the story of these engines for the future through displaying them and recording them in a book. And at the end of the day, that's the most important thing.
And we're also recording Peter's story, even though he might not like it. I think his story needs to be told.
Absolutely.
Because there are many myths and lots of misinformation about Peter. Peter had a great admiration for craftsmen, and he greatly admired people that knew what they were doing. If you fitted into that category, you got on well with him.
You're all right.
If you didn't, he'd probably see you off his farm at the end of a shotgun.
What was it like to actually see those engines before anyone else had seen them as such?
The first engine I was shown was by pulling back a curtain and looking into a dark barn. And I could just about make out the smoke box of a Bagnall Gwalia Pacific.
Wow.
which looked huge.
Yeah.
And I didn't realise at the time that he'd actually got 2 of those in the same barn. He then took me to another shed, which I later found out was his workshop. And in there was an Isle of Man carriage, F68.
Yeah.
Half of which was in the process of being rebuilt, and the other half of which was fully painted and restored.
Oh wow.
With gold leaf lettering,
Yeah.
gold leaf lining. An incredible sight.
So his plan was always to restore some of the collection, I'm guessing, and to conserve others in the as withdrawn condition.
When Peter started collecting engines in 1968, his original ambition was to fully restore each engine to as new condition.
Well.
And towards that goal, he took La Herrera to pieces, which was one of the engines from Sabera, with a view to rebuilding it and restoring it. But because he was then involved with the Brecon Mountain Railway, he decided that the Brecon was going to need some coaches fairly urgently. And one of his ideas was to restore some of the Isle of Man coaches that he'd rescued in 1974 and put them on 2-foot gauge bogies and run them on the Brecon Mountain Railway. Tony Hills didn't really want to wait the amount of time that Peter was going to take. And as we know, F68 took 40 years.
Sure.
So Tony set about building his own coaches to get the Brecon Mountain running. And F68 became something of a white elephant, but also a labour of love to Peter. Peter wasn't a trained locomotive engineer.
Right.
He was very keen and very hands-on, but he by no means was he a trained engineer.
So when you were writing the book, Narrow Gauge Enigma, how hard was it to find out the information on each engine, how Peter got wind of it, how he got it into the UK?
I was very fortunate in that Peter kept complete records of all of his purchases.
Oh, okay,
So there were dusty ring binders for each locomotive, which contained all the purchase invoices, all the shipping invoices, customs paperwork.
Wow.
All the correspondence to and fro. Some of these ring binders were about 1 inch thick. The ring binder for 666 was 2.5 inches thick, due to the amount of problems he was having negotiating with authorities in India.
So there's a lot of trudging through old paperwork and
some of his earlier records he typed on yellow carbon paper.
Right, okay.
And they still exist. But in the 1980s, Peter decided to start using fax machines.
Okay.
That way he could communicate overseas instantly. The problem with that is the thermal paper over the years has faded to blank. So a lot of the priceless records are now just blank pieces of paper.
And how
some of his earlier typed records, the centre of the letter O's have all disappeared.
Oh, right, okay.
It must have been a very powerful letter O.
So how about the history of the engines before Peter managed to purchase them? The early history. How did you go about researching all of those?
Those had to be researched by going back to original manufacturers' records.
Right.
And we're fortunate in this country that many of the locomotives in Peter's collection, the original drawings still exist in archives. So, for instance, the Bagnall archive at Stafford. The Fowler archive at the English Museum of Rural Life at University of Reading. North British Locomotive Works at the Mitchell Library in Glasgow. So gradually, by piecing all this information together and combining it with historic photographs,
you were able to create.
We've been able to build up a complete picture, not only of the engines as they are today, but their history from when they were built.
Yeah, what a magnificent result as well.
It was an exciting project to work on.
Absolutely.
But as we went through the projects, it sort of grew, because the more we discovered, the more we realised we didn't know.
Yeah. The classic of where you find more information and more.
Peter was a notoriously private individual. I said earlier that he didn't really show his wealth, and he lived in a house on the farm, and he'd redirected his driveway because he didn't want people to see his house from the road.
What do you think, from what you can remember, what's your best or funniest anecdote about Peter that you can remember from your experience with him?
Nigel Bowman told me that one day a chap walked into the yard at Gorebridge with a clipboard and looking very official, and it turned out that he was an investigator from the Ordnance Survey.
All right.
And he was concerned that their master map didn't match what was on the ground at Gorebridge Green, because they hadn't got a narrow gauge railway illustrated on their maps. And at this point Peter stepped in and said, that's the remains of the old Dunsfold Church branch.
And did he believe him?
Well, he never came back.
And how about, what's your favourite engine in Collection X? if you have a favourite?
I think I've got two favourites. One would be Sir Helice's number 2.
Yeah.
If only because that was the first steam locomotive that ever arrived on Peter's farm.
Okay.
And the other, purely personal, is the big North British Pacific.
Yes.
666.
666. Yeah.
Which is 2'6" gauge. But Peter wasn't worried about that, because with outside valve gear he'd worked out that he could easily push the wheels together to make it a 2-footer.
Sure, yeah. So what about this collection of AC cars that he had?
Peter bought an AC Greyhound in 1960, and he drove it until he died in 2019. He had a lifelong love of the AC marque, and one of the founding trustees of the Peter Rampton Narrow Gauge Trust was Derek Hurlock,
right,
who was the chairman of AC Cars in Thames Ditton.
Okay.
And I was told the story that in the early 1960s, Peter was picked up from his farm by Derek in a then new AC Cobra sports car and taken for a spin up the M1 in it.
Right.
In the days before there were speed limits on the M1.
Okay.
They were followed by a police Jaguar, and when they eventually pulled over at the service station, the Jaguar pulled in behind with some oil pouring out of its engine. And the police officer said he was just curious as to what the car was that they were driving. Peter never liked AC Cobras.
No.
Thought they were a bit vulgar.
So I'm guessing this will be the first time for you to see some of these since they came up to Abbott.
Yeah, last time I saw these, they were in darkness and covered in wood.
Well, let me illuminate you then.
Wow, this is an impressive space.
Well, it should be. It was built, well, less than 12 months ago, so brand new. It's the first time that any cameras have ever seen it.
I was told that when the collection was assessed in Surrey that they were going to need about 650 feet of covered storage space.
Really?
To accommodate the complete collection.
Wow, yeah. Well, nice big new shed here, certainly storing a good part of it.
Yeah. Last time I saw this Bagnall, it was covered in wood.
Really?
Peter used to saw wood up in his sawmill, and he put the sawn up wood on top of the engine for the season.
So it's the first time you've ever seen it?
It's the first time
clear.
I've seen it not buried in wood.
Wow. And I bet better lighting in here as well than you had down there.
I believe this one came from Rustenburg Platinum Mines in South Africa.
All right, yeah.
And Peter negotiated its purchase when he had his holiday in South Africa in 1969 with his sister.
As he did.
It was on that holiday that he had a ride over Van Staden's Bridge on the Kalahari on the swing-out seat.
How much of a drop then for me?
About 70 feet, I believe. He never forgot that experience.
I'm sure I wouldn't. I remember these two. These were parked outside here for years. I used to play on these when I was a child. The two Fowlers here from Mozambique, I believe.
Senna Sugar Estate. Yeah, built by John Fowler. Used to haul sugar cane.
Yeah.
This is another Fowler.
I don't remember this one.
This one was acquired from the Mojave Desert in California.
All right.
Built by Fowler. Also used on a sugar plantation, South Pacific sugar mills.
Well,
And it had a tender built in Australia.
Huh.
8-wheel baby tender.
Yeah. Well.
Built in Australia.
Huh. This looks like a Bagnall.
Yeah, I haven't seen this one since I was last in Surrey.
No.
This one came from Hong Kong,
All right.
where it worked on a tramway
Well.
in Kowloon.
Huh.
It's an unusual Bagnall four-neck.
Yeah.
An interesting thing about it is it was built like a lot of four-necks to work backwards.
Sure. Yeah.
The reason being the streets of Kowloon were very crowded, and in order for the driver to have a clear view along the roadside tramway, it was easier for him to look at the back of the engine
safer to go that way.
and drive that way than it was to go forward. So the valve gear is all back to front.
Sure,
as
it's
well.
a curious looking thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Quite.
This ended up, I believe, on a sugar plantation in the Philippines,
Right.
where it saw out its final years, and it's still in some of its Philippine livery.
Yeah.
It went back to Hong Kong. There were two of them. One is now in a museum in Hong Kong, and this one was offered to Peter for free.
Well.
And Peter paid the shipping to have it delivered there.
Yeah.
It's an unusual example of a four-neck.
And how about those frames I can see down the bottom there?
Yes, the one on the top, I believe, are the frames from Hudswell Clark San Justo.
Right.
And last time I saw that, they were stored on top of the Kerr Stewart 695 in Surrey.
Yeah.
And the frames underneath are from Henschel Kalahari, which Peter bought with Tony Hills.
Right. Okay.
It was stored at Brecon for many years.
So for a Welsh narrow gauge railway, the Villa Bredol now certainly has a very international context in a way, doesn't it? With all of these.
If we look along this shed, you've got locomotives from Spain, Philippines, Hong Kong, California,
Mozambique,
South Africa.
So a very diverse community in this shed, isn't it?
Yeah. And most of them built in England by the great English locomotive builders.
Yeah.
Peter is very keen to preserve that history. And had he not purchased these engines, many of them would have simply been scrapped.
Indeed.
Because they were worth more as scrap metal than they were as redundant locomotives.
Yeah, sure.
But Peter saw the historical value in them.
And they're now safe.
Yeah, and like fine wine, the older they get, the rarer they become. So what Peter did really was defy the natural cycle of economics and decay.
Yeah.
Through investing in these old engines.
And the result is these survivors.
Amazing collection of rare narrow gauge locomotives.
So in contrast to everything we've just been looking at the other shed, in the Engine Shed Museum here in Aberystwyth, are very different looking examples of what Collection X has to offer, aren't they?
This is what Peter intended to do with all of his engines, restore them all to this immaculate, as new finish.
Whether cosmetically or actually operating, it would, absolutely.
Yeah. And obviously the enormity of that task dawned on him as time went by. Not just time, but cost. And his attention then seemed to move more towards collecting what he could when he could.
And that someone else might be able to take on
restoration could come later.
And
we're now at that point where the restoration bit can start.
Yeah, and we have this amazing museum here where people can come and see the finished result.
Yeah, and of course a fully equipped workshop
to do it
with skilled engineers. Yeah, one of Peter's favourite quotes was, "I've done my bit rescuing them. It's up to others now to do something with them." And I think that sums up Peter's attitude towards what he was doing with this collection.
Sure.
It was a long-term plan.
Yeah.
It wasn't all going to be done overnight.
No, and indeed within his lifetime.
Yeah.
And of course that brings us up very nicely to the new book which you wrote. And how pleased are you to actually see this done at last?
I'm particularly pleased that the book arrived on the same day that this locomotive arrived back from Surrey, fully restored.
So what a fitting time for
the story of this locomotive is in this book, along with the story of all the other locomotives in Peter's collection.
So absolutely fascinating read. Every single engine that Peter Rampton collected and the complete history, written by this man right here next to me, and it is available to purchase online and in store here at any of our stations at Devil's Bridge or Aberystwyth.